came along with how do I deal with these nightmares? How do I deal with these anxieties when I'm in public? And I go to my church, and there was just nobody with me at church that could really relate with me or talk to me about what's important to me, because they're all, in my eyes, were speaking from a lens of a cookie cutter ideal world that they lived in, and so it was difficult um, to really find reprieve and really appreciate who I was. And so, yeah,
Thanks,
I hope
Luke.
that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Luke, you were I guess you were kind of in a movie, but they used I saw you at the very end where they used you, which was awesome. And I know that you were a part of the radio. I think the voice and radio and stuff, but you were in or part of a movie called Mending the Line.
I was, yeah.
And some of that was they took some of that information that I think you said from journals that journal entries you had, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was fly fishing in Bozeman with this group called Warriors in Quiet Waters. Here I am fly fishing, and this movie director and this screenwriters out there. I had no idea they were going to be out there. And they come up to me and they start
Sorry,
talking to me.
Luke? Sorry, are you there for therapy? Or are you there just like as a vacation?
No, this time I was there as a mentor. I was
As a
there helping
mentor?
out other people.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And I'm out there. I'm out there.
And what year? What year is this?
2021,
Okay, so not
2020, 2020.
got it.
And so I'm out there as a mentor, and this producer and the screenwriter come up to me, and we just start talking honestly. And they started asking me a little bit about my military experience, and I tell them, and they're like, "Man, you got an awesome story." They were like, "Do you mind if we're writing this movie? We have some ideas. Do you mind if we send you the script when you get home, and you can read the script and let us know what you think of it?" And I was like, "Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I would love to read a script before the movie comes out. I think that's cool." They were like, "All right." So they sent me the script, and I was like, "Oh, oof, no, this is not going to be a good movie," because they had like the military lingo wrong. The whole vibe, everything was
Yeah,
written by somebody that wasn't in the military, right?
right.
So they called me up on a group call and said, "What'd you think?" I was like, "Well, do you want the truth, or do you want me to just tell you it was good?" And they were like, "Well, no, we want the truth." And I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "It needs some work." And they were like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, for instance, in the scene, Coulter flies into Montana and he gets out of his car and or he gets out of the airplane, and a car drives by and it backfires and he hits the ground." I asked them, I said, "What is this, 1978?" I was like, "When's the last time you heard a car backfire?" And they
Uncle,
were like,
I watched Uncle Buck a couple. Actually, I
"Yeah,
did a couple
exactly.
of days ago. I watched it with my wife, and yeah, that's probably the only time I've ever heard one.
Yeah." And they were like, "Man, that's actually a great point." They were like, "Do you have any experiences?" I was like, "Man, I got a great one." And we were in church in Fort Smith, Arkansas. It's 2011, and a lady that you and I both know, I'm not going to mention her name on here, dropped a chair behind me in church, and I take a knee, like I immediately take a knee, face her, and I start reaching for my sidearm, which I did not have on me, but it was just like an automatic reaction to reach for my sidearm or my M4. I was just going into this protective thing, and she looks at me, she starts laughing, and she knew my situation, and I just started crying because I didn't know what else to do. Like I was so mad at her, I was so embarrassed, I was sad, and I just started crying, and I got up and I left. And so I told them that, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, we got to put that in the movie." And so they did. They ended up putting that in the movie, and so I started telling them stuff like that. I told them about this reoccurring nightmare I had. I was like, "Don't put this in the movie." I was like, "But I had this reoccurring nightmare." And lo and behold, I'm watching the edit of the movie, and there's the nightmare in the movie. But anyway, I'm not upset about that. So yeah, so they took my experiences specifically with dealing with combat trauma, and put that into the movie. Really leaned heavy into it.
Hey guys, thanks for clicking on the video. I appreciate it. If you could do me a favor, this video is all about our veterans. And whether you're in the military, thinking about joining the military, or you're out of the military, dealing with PTSD, or maybe you have recovered from it and is going through life. But I want to make sure you take the time, hit subscribe, because that helps out with the algorithm, pushes out to those other people that need to hear this video. Thank you guys. Let's get to it. So as far as the but you had been to this, you had done some type of what am I trying to say, therapy at this same location that you're now mentoring and you were talking to these people about, or no?
Yeah. So the way that the program works is you first of all, you got to fill out an application and apply for it, and they fly you out there if it's your very first time, and they take you on a fly fishing trip, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea is to find healing through fly fishing with this group, and it's so therapeutic, so helpful.
Can you talk a little bit about that symbolism of what they talked about in the movie?
Yeah. So I have an NPR article. Well, not my article. I kind of interviewed on this a little bit in NPR, where there's a struggle that we all deal with, I think, internally, especially when it comes to a combat vet. There's something that's constantly clawing at you, and you're kind of cyclic with your thought patterns, and just continuously thinking about it, and it doesn't go away. The thing about fly fishing is there's a process that takes place where you have to force yourself to slow down, right? You think about regular fishing, you just cast your line out there just as hard as you can to see how far you can throw it. Well, in fly fishing, you're forced to slow down and think about your movements and your casting pattern, and it's almost an artwork that takes place when you do that. But in Montana's, they're heavy on catch and release, right? And so you go through this struggle of learning how to cast your line out into the water, and to endure the elements of cold weather, or walking over the rocks, wading through water, whatever it is. And you finally hook onto this fish that you've been going after probably for, at this point in time, a good month. The point is it takes time to actually get this fish that you're trying to catch so hard. And I kind of relate that almost to like the struggle that we have. There's a struggle that we just can't put our hands on. There's something that needs healing, and we just can't find exactly where that spot is that needs healed. And you finally hook onto the fish. You finally catch a hold of what that problem is, and you bring it all the way in. And instead of bringing that fish home, killing the fish, eating it up, you appreciate the fish. You hold it, and you take the hook out of its mouth, and you release it, and you let it back out into the water, to where it no longer affects you, right? It's there. You recognize it. You know where it's at. You know where you can find it again if you ever need to go back and revisit it. You know where you can go back and you can revisit it, right? But you know that at the end of the day, it's just something as small as a fish that you can hold in your hand. It's just something that it's there. It's tangible. Yeah. And so it's basically taking this struggle that we have that isn't tangible, and making it into something tangible that you can hold and release back into the water, and you can let all those emotions go. You can let that stress and that struggle, all those hard days, all those hard mornings and nights that you stayed awake all through the night, you can just let all that go. The guys you didn't bring home, the people that you've killed, the injuries that you've sustained, the wives you've had to call, you can let all that go just right there,